What is up, faithful? I know, rough night last night, but there's no better way to get over a loss than to talk it out. Big old family chatter. That's what we're going to do. Normally, I would have Sunil on Tuesday night, but Sunil is out of town. And whenever I have a show or a host that can't make it, I do open mic night, and that's what tonight's all about. So that means your night to call in, your night to sound off. The show's all about you. You get up, you have 5 minutes to speak whatever's on your mind. We'll have some back and forth, and then we're on to the next person. As always, get in early, get your spot, get out, save yourself some time. We're going to get to your guys' calls, and we're going to do it next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, it's open mic night, which means it's your night to sound off. That's right. Rant week. Now it's your turn to rant. So here we go. We're going to go first three up. Korean 49er, official B&A music, Keith Murphy. That's the first three. Get your spot. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. Click that link. It'll bring you backstage. And then I'll bring you on in the order in which you come in. But first, Korean 49er. What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm good, Jesse. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Very, very well.
So, in my mind, I thought yesterday's game should have been Ravens being the favorite when the line was 5.5 to the Niners.
Okay.
The Ravens had advantages all over the 49ers. They have a coach with more experience. They have a starting quarterback with more experience. And they had a more physical defense that actually made the 49ers pay for every mistake they made, which good teams should always do. So, as they say, if anyone expects the 49ers to win after they commit 5 turnovers, they got another thing coming.
Yeah, I mean, most certainly. You commit 5 turnovers, you're not going to win that game. The fact that they were even, I guess, somewhat in it is kind of impressive. In a bad way, not that you want to commit 5 turnovers, but it's one of those situations that they still had a small chance there at the end. Small chance to make it interesting. So,
yeah, they had a chance. I mean, Sam Darnold did okay outside of that, that final interception at the end. But,
yeah,
he can't, when you're not, Baltimore, Lamar Jackson was not contained by the 49ers. And I told Grant that the first key was you have to at least semi-contain Lamar Jackson, or else he'll make it a very long night. And they did that.
Yeah, most certainly. I thought that they did a decent job of containing Lamar, especially after those turnovers. But at some point, you can't contain anymore. You can't contain, and you have that many turnovers. Eventually, the defense is going to give in. Lamar being a top 5 to 7 quarterback in this league is going to make you eventually pay, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Also, one of the keys was I thought that Baltimore didn't have a very good run defense. I think they were one of the more they were giving up a pretty decent average, per run. My question is based on at least that Kyle should have run the ball a little bit more early just to see what would happen, and of course it didn't happen.
Yeah, it is interesting because one thing that the Ravens do is they actually run light boxes as much or anybody in the NFL. And so because of that, they're susceptible to the run game. They like to keep 2 safeties over the top. They like to be prepared for the passing game. And you thought that maybe the 49ers would press that issue a little bit more, and they didn't for whatever reason. But when they did, it was working well. So, again, for me, a lot of people are upset at Shanahan for his game plan. And to me, I think it comes down to what you thought pregame. If you thought Brock Purdy was a difference maker, a game changer, and an MVP caliber quarterback, then I don't believe there's any room to be upset over the game plan because he put it on the quarterback's right arm and allowed him to go win that game, and it didn't happen. But if you had reservations about Brock or you thought CMC was the best offensive weapon, then certainly I think that you deserve to be a little frustrated with the game plan. So it all depends, in my opinion, on what you thought going into that game.
Yeah, I just thought that this was the last. How do I say this? Really tough team that the 49ers would play record wise before the playoffs. Not saying that the Rams can't, put up a good, they're not going to lie down. I don't believe Washington's going to lie down, but they knew that this team was possibly the last really physical, intense team that they would play before whoever they play in the playoffs. If they get home field, that's great, and we'll see where that goes. But they showed that this defense can be very vulnerable if with a mobile quarterback who can make plays outside the pocket and can't at least limit his effectiveness in finding receivers and getting those runs for first downs.
Yeah, most certainly. And this was supposed to be the last big test. Fortunately for the 49ers, the Seahawks helped their case in beating the Philadelphia Eagles. We saw Dallas lose a couple games in a row, so the 49ers are in the driver's seat to go get this thing done regardless. They just got to win the final two games, and as long as they do that, they'll get the number 1 seed, which ultimately was the most important thing coming into this season. So, I'm all
Yeah.
for
And on a light note, it's always fun when I go watch the 49ers games at the sports bars when they have the NFL Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
And then seeing all the Cowboy fans leave after their team loses. I just keep asking them, where are you guys going? How about those Cowboys? Come on, man.
Oh man, that team is so fraudulent. At least we're not Cowboys fans, right?
I think, praise the Lord that he didn't make me a Cowboys fan. I kind of feel, the players I don't have a problem with are the coaches. It's always the fans. I think they're far worse than, if a nuclear blast happened, I think they would survive somehow, like Twinkies or, certain animals. But we'll leave it.
Yeah,
We'll leave it at that.
most likely. All right, bro. Hey, thanks for starting us off per usual. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Jesse.
All right, man, later. All right, there you go. Korean 49er starting things off. Starting them off. All right, we're going to go to B&A Music and then Keith Murphy. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you want to get in, get your 5 minutes or less, whatever. If you just got a couple things you want to say, you can definitely say that as well. But get in and get in early. We're going to go to B&A Music. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
You were at the game, yeah?
I was at the game. Yep.
You were interviewed on the news and everything, I heard.
Yeah, they had CBS News there. I got to talk a little bit about my emotions post game, and I just told
What'd
them,
they ask you? What'd they ask you?
I said, "What's your feelings on the game?" I said, "This sucks." was my just straight up. I was like, "This."
You know how
sucks.
much money I spent for these tickets? What do you mean? What are my feelings on the game? Did you not
Like
watch
it's
the same game?
Christmas. It's Christmas, and I'm going home with an L, and not even just like a. I can take lose by a field goal at the buzzer. I can take that,
Yeah.
but an ass whooping, like old school one, like
Yeah.
belt to ass the whole game, like
Yeah, that was not a great way to spend Christmas.
yeah, at home in our stadium, everybody watching. That was supposed to be, you know, this battle of who's going to, a possible, Super Bowl preview, and then I know they're probably looking like, I don't know about this one if that's the case now, because we got a lot of questions that need to be answered and a lot of things that need to get fixed, especially comes to offense because Brock can't do that. And I'm speaking from his perspective of his own career. Because one thing Kyle Shanahan's shown, like he is a quarterback polygamist.
Yes,
You
yes, he is.
you one pick away from him looking, what veteran quarterbacks available and stuff. He already got, what do you say, Steve Young Jr. on the bench that he was willing to run no huddle with, that he wasn't willing to do with you. That's a whole nother story too. That's a little odd to me. But for Brock's sake, just knowing that his leash is so short, like there's no financial obligation tied to him. In fact, he's still trying to get the bag. He's still trying to secure his NFL career because he is a couple bad plays away from being Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Where So it's like for his sake, like bro, like it's in front of you, but you can't have these stinkers in front of these good teams because the knock on you is that you front run, that when it's time to face some adversity, this is what you turn into. And you got to clean up because there were plays there to be made. I remember seeing on the TJ's O'Sullivan channel, he's talking about Brock is passing up some downfield plays. And I kind of saw that last night too. And then, he's getting fooled by the first interception in the red zone. Like he got baited into that one.
Yeah, he did. It's funny because I went back and forth with some people on Twitter, and I watched it again on the L22. I just got my hands on the L22 before this, and he did. He tried to look off Hamilton, and Hamilton's like, "Yeah, good try, bud."
Yeah, it's like no, like they already know, they watch film too, and that's what you're going to run into, especially moving forward now the rest of the season. Because when we get to the playoffs, it's not like we're facing worse teams. It's not like the Cardinals are going to be waiting for us in the playoffs. Like it's the real teams now. Like, and was it 0-4 versus the AFC?
AFC North or 1-3. Yeah,
1-3. But yeah, that's bad. Like he got to clean it up for his sake, because I think he's a good quarterback. But at the same time, I understand he's a young quarterback, but also understand the team has no patience.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Kyle is a quarterback polygamist. Yes. And he's the type of guy that'll get bored real quick. So you got to make sure that you're constantly earning your keep. And it's interesting because you can tell Brock has that in his mindset. Not that he's worried by any means or that he should necessarily be worried, but he's got that urgency that I've got to perform every single game and every single week. Mm-hmm. And you could hear the way he was talking in his post game, like, hey, I can't let them down. I can't keep my head up when things are just going good. Like I got to do it when they're going bad as well. So overall, you can tell he has that sense of urgency, which is great. I love it.
Yep. Because like I said, it's not going to, the teams that we face aren't going to get worse. And then, next year, everybody has a draft too. It's not like we're picking high anymore. So those teams will get better. Those teams that we're used to being our doormats, they're going to get better. There's going to be more film out on you. Everybody's going to know, we can get Brock by making them think that this he can fit something in between cover 2 and the red zone. We're going to try it too. Because, it's funny when I thought about what you had said earlier in the season about the Seahawks, how you felt as though they were kind of built to stop us. Mm-hmm. Ravens are in that same mold too, as far as having, these hybrid safety types, good corners and stuff like that, and the dual linebackers to be able to slow down guys like George Kittle. I think that was the team that was more closer to what you thought the Seahawks were.
I think the Seahawks have the horses. Have the horses. Their coaching's awful. Their game plans are awful. Last night, what the Ravens did to the 49ers pre and post snap, they've been doing all year, is fantastic. Seattle doesn't disguise anything at all.
Oh yeah,
like what you see is what you get pre and post snap.
And it didn't help that Mike Florio putting batteries in folks' backs. I did not even know about that until after the game, about what he had said and how they, took it personally, like Jordan. And I hope nobody put any more batteries in folks' backs. Let's face it, us, because that's setting us up.
Yeah, most definitely. Hey, man, well, I hope either way you enjoyed your experience. I know the 49ers lost, but I hope that you still had a great Christmas. I hope you enjoyed your time. And the 49ers will be all right, man. You know it. 49ers will be all right.
Some guys that came out to the game from Baltimore that are Niners fans. So they're my old coworkers. We met up after the game and stuff. So it was cool. Link up with folks.
There you go. All right, man. I got to get to the next couple.
All right. Take it easy.
Later, man. Good call, man. He had a fun time at the game. It sucks. That they lost, but either way, man, you got to enjoy your Christmas. It's only a football game. 49ers will be fine. We're going to go Keith, and then we're going to go Eric. Let's bring in Keith, see what his thoughts are.
What's going on?
Keith? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Saw your son last night, man. Good looking kid.
Thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
He was smiling a bit too hard for my liking, though.
Yeah, wouldn't you be if your team had won that way?
Yeah. Kid looked real happy, man, at our dismay. But That's all good, man. I just think Purdy, man, he got to play better. These AFC North teams are beating our ass, man. No
They
pun
really are.
intended. Like they don't just bully us; they knock players out of the game. Like Cleveland and Baltimore specifically. So the good thing is the only NFC loss we have this year, I think, is to Minnesota. So you know, our road to the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be easy. Anything can happen in one game, but
For
I
sure.
don't want to see any of them AFC North boys till we got to see them again.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? And this is what's interesting. Brother Bob had sent me a message on Twitter, and he's like, "Hey, how can you be confident in the 49ers?" And I'm like, "Well, it's simple. The 49ers only have to get through one AFC team. That's
They
it.
do. That's it.
Just one. That's it. That's all they got to do.
So
If they were in the AFC, I would have no confidence."
no, none at all. What they did to our offensive line is what I thought Philly would do to it. You know, and I guess in both games, beat them up. Trent got knocked out of both games against Cleveland and Baltimore.
That's true.
I mean, then they knocked more out last night. Banks. I mean, we're down to our dire straits, and so they just came with a physical game plan. They looked like old school Baltimore Ravens. They lived up to that reputation. I got to give my hats off to them. I don't have nothing bad to say about them. They came in, played a clean football game. Game plan Brock very well. Game plan this offense very well. Nobody had done that to us fully healthy since we've had Brock and CMC and Trent and all those guys. You know what I mean?
No, that was it, right? Like that was the fully healthy team. That was as good as it gets for the most part. And they did their damn thing. And you know what I noticed, Keith? I don't know if you picked up on this, but the 49ers were down 16-12 at half. I felt really good. The 49ers were about to get the ball to start the second half.
I felt amazing.
So I was in a good spot.
The defense played amazing. I know the second half it kind of reminds me of the Philly game last year when Brock got knocked out. Defense, like you said, I think a caller or two ago, that was an example of non-complimentary football. We did not put our defense in. They bailed us out in the first half, kept us in the game. And to your point, an MVP level player like Lamar, you can't do that but so many times, and he's going to make you pay. But I thought the defense played fine.
Yeah, but what I noticed was, and in hindsight, I should have really picked up on this. Harbaugh came out and did his little halftime interview. He was way too relaxed. It was like he knew what was about to go down. He's like, "Listen, we got these boys right where we want them." He's like, "Oh, they interview. How do you think the first half went?" He's like, "Well, first of all, Merry Christmas." Big cheesy smile. I was like, "Okay, this guy's way too relaxed right now. He's been here before."
They have the horses.
Yeah,
them in Cleveland specifically. They have the linebackers in secondary that can do a lot of things that most teams won't be able to do to us.
It's true. It's very true.
When people are like, did they get exposed? I was like, not too many people have a Roquan Smith and those type of players. Humphrey, that guy was all over the place, man. He looked like Ed Reed. They were talking to him. I was listening to some radio. They was like, man, he might be the next Ed Reed. And I was like, no way. Like that kid looked like the real deal, man. Humphrey, he was everywhere.
Everywhere. Bro, it felt like there was 3 of them out there.
It felt like they had 12 defenders on defense.
It legitimately, like they were covering everything. And you're right. It's funny because after the Cleveland game, I remember we asked a similar question and I said exactly what you said, which is sure, they exposed the 49ers if you're Cleveland, but there's maybe 1 or 2 other teams in the league that have this type of team to do this. The Ravens just happened to be the other one, and we saw what happened. So
that's right. I mean, styles make fights, right? So then, unfortunately, we like to get physical, and those 2 teams, I got to give it to them. They out physicaled us.
Yeah,
and they beat us at our own game. And I did think Harbaugh outcoached or his crew or whatever. I thought the coaching. I understand, Kyle. We've been passing the ball a lot more, but when the running was working, you didn't switch up the script. That kind of bothered me a little bit because I thought we were running the ball very well. So those are just my thoughts, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, Keith. Thank you for always supporting, man. I'll talk to you later.
No problem.
Later. Man, that was Keith's on it, man. I agree with him. You guys are talking about stealing signs and golden towels. Like, no, they stole our souls. Yeah, I agree. They stole our souls in that game for sure. No doubt about that one. All right, we're going to go to Eric, then Vegas. Let's bring Eric in and see what he's talking about. What's up, Eric?
Hey, what's up, Jesse? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. It's been a while. How you been?
Good, man. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too, man. You too.
Thank you. So, I gotta say, I totally disagree with the previous caller.
Okay.
He said he wasn't happy that your son was smiling, and I gotta totally disagree. I'm glad your son was smiling. The Ravens earned that win. It's not like they got lucky on one play, a fumble or something. Like the Ravens were the better team. They earned that win. I'm glad your son was smiling. I wish your son had honestly. I wish he had taken out a football and taken out a Sharpie and just signed the football and dropped it, and then hit
Left
the
it on
gritty
my
and
desk
walked
for
off.
me.
He should have signed the ball and dropped it, and then hit the gritty and walked off because they earned that win. It's not like they got lucky. The Ravens were the better team, and we saw the big difference in the game. Obviously, 5 interceptions, 4 of them coming from Purdy is you're never going to win a game where you have that many interceptions. And we
Yeah.
saw the big difference between the Raiders and the 49ers is that the Ravens committed to having an athlete at the quarterback position. God forbid you have an athlete in an athletic competition. Oh no, this can't possibly ever work. We need a statue back there. Jimmy Garoppolo got to stand back there. Brock Purdy has a little bit of evasiveness, but you wouldn't call him an athlete, like, you know what I mean? Like on the level of like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like if you went
No.
to the grocery store and you went and you saw the cashier was Josh Allen, you'd be like, oh my God, dude, you're huge. What are you doing here? If you went to the grocery store and you saw that Brock Purdy was your cashier, you'd say paper or plastic. Like nothing about him would stand out. You wouldn't think like, oh, this guy's an NFL quarterback who happens to be my cashier. If if you got a flat tire, you went to the mechanic, you saw Brock Purdy, you'd be like, yeah, it seems about right. If you saw, some other NFL athletes, you'd be like, oh my God, what is this doing working here? What a tremendous athlete. You know what I mean? Like Brock Purdy has a good skill set in terms of being able to read defenses and deliver the ball accurately. When plays are working the way they're supposed to and guys are getting open, we've seen it work to the highest level. But when plays break down, there's no plan B. Like he can escape a little bit, but he's not like a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen extending the play, creating a second play, letting guys, work open, get back to the ball. Like it's just not there. And also like with the arm strength, like being able to like zip passes into tight windows. We saw, Sam Darnold, I'm not a Sam Darnold fan, but we saw Sam Darnold come in and laser a touchdown pass. That was a touchdown that's like I'd say maybe like 75% NFL quarterbacks just can't make. Like that's like an elite arm strength throw, and Brock Purdy isn't making those throws. If that receiver gets open, he can find them, but he's limited with his athleticism, and I'm just afraid that like it's going to look good because the rest of the NFC isn't that great. I think that they can still easily win the NFC, and then when you get to the Super Bowl, you're going to be facing one of these teams with a franchise quarterback like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, etc. And I think that they might end up coming up short, but it's still going to be like, oh, well, Purdy looked really good. He really kicked the snot out of the Seahawks in round 2. Like, okay, that's great, but we're trying to win a Super Bowl here. And, just looking down the road when it comes to contract time, like we saw this last game, we saw it during the 3-game stretch. If, the rest of the offense didn't work well around him, Purdy wasn't able to make plays on his own. And if you give Purdy a franchise quarterback contract at like 40 to 50 million a year or potentially more at that point, that's taking away like 2 players off your offense. And, like that's like, and I hate to say it, but when they weren't able to play with Debo and Trent Williams, that's basically like in a cap space sport, what it would cost to give a franchise quarterback to Brock Purdy. So if he can't function during those 3 games with Trent Will, and like when it doesn't, like when it works, when it works, it looks great. Everything's clicking, looks like a well-oiled machine. But when it doesn't work, he looks like he's just physically outmatched. He kind of looks like a boy playing a man's game, and like these are like the best in the world athletes coming after him and that are like sitting on his routes, ready to jump the routes. And he doesn't have the arm strength to get past him. He doesn't have the mobility to get away. And if we give him like a friend, I don't know. It's early to talk about his contract, but the point is, I don't know why this regime is just like diametrically opposed to getting an athlete at the position. We were kind of hoping with Trey Lance they understood. They were running Jimmy Garoppolo on bootlegs, when Kyle first took over. I don't understand why he doesn't want the added functionality of having a mobile quarterback or a strong arm quarterback that can laser the ball in there. But, I like Brock Purdy. He's got a good skill set that can function when plays are working, but he doesn't have the athleticism to extend plays or like create, opportunities through his arm strength alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tend to agree. I think people are kind of getting caught up in the chat about what you meant. You're more just saying like physical size. Athletes come in different sizes, strengths, everything. And it's funny because a lot of people talk about Tom Brady and they're like, oh, well, he wasn't a great athlete. And I'm like, I disagree. He was 6'4" and had a cannon for an arm. You don't have to be mobile to be a physical athlete. You don't have to run a 4.3 40 to be an athlete. Just being physically tall, big, and having a strong arm
maybe you
means
don't get
you're a
3
different
passes
level
tipped at the
athlete.
line. And when you're taller, maybe you don't get 3 passes tipped at the line that end up getting intercepted. And Tom Brady, when he had Randy Moss, he could throw the deep ball. Like he had, but by that point, he had developed the arm strength. He had a big frame to grow into. He didn't start out as a great athlete, and he never was very mobile, but he had NFL athleticism with his arm strength, you know?
Yeah, and you can't teach 6'4", 6'5". So I understand what you're saying, Eric. All right, bro, I got to get to the next few. I got 3 waiting. All right.
All right. Merry Christmas again, dude. Have a good night.
All right, you too, man. Well, he's one of the few people I think that were happy to see my son as happy as he was. Other than myself, that kind of made the game enjoyable, even though the 49ers were getting smacked. I I will say that seeing him be happy just reminded me of when I was a kid rooting for the 49ers and what that meant for me. So I was fine with it. I don't know if anybody else other than Eric was cool with it. All right, we're gonna get to Vegas, then Flav, and then Niner Gang. We'll go from there. What's up, Vegas?
Hey, what's up? Down to the last second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Love your brand. Love your brand. I love what you do.
Thank you, man.
49ers, they broke my heart this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, not a great way to end your Christmas, right?
Nah, not at all. After the gifts, after all the joy, here they come. But they needed to adjust to the fight. They needed to adjust to that game. It should have been down. Let's run the ball. Just run the ball game. And take your shots with Ayuk, and they never did that. They never found Ayuk until the last minute, and he was pivotal key to win that game, and they never did. And
no, I think it's a great point. I like what you said there because I think you said something very, very key. And I always equate sports to fighting. It's just what I enjoy. I enjoy mixed martial arts a ton and boxing. And you said they never adjusted to the fight. What they did is they came in with a game plan. They felt like they could knock him out, go into the head, but really the body was open all night and they never took advantage of it.
They never took advantage of it. They just kept on taking blow after blow and doubling up. It was like chasing in Las Vegas. Chasing them.
Yeah,
just like that. But hey, it's still a young season, and maybe that's a blessing because this way they don't take the last week off against the Rams, and they could play the Rams, and maybe we could knock out the Rams. We just on the regular season, we don't have to see them no more because I think they're the most dangerous team in this tournament if they get in.
No, by the way, I'm with you as far as I didn't want to rest anybody week 18. I wanted them to need that game in a small sense, play everybody, keep that momentum, get the bye week, and go that way. I think taking 2 weeks off would be a mistake. I do think that there's a rust factor, but 1 week is needed. They're going to need the bye week. You can tell they're starting to slow down a little bit. They're getting a little tired. I'm all about that. But week 18, I do want to see them play. I do.
The bye week is huge. It's just huge to them winning. Yeah, I can't see them winning without that bye week and adjusting and getting a game plan, getting the extra practice, extra rest. Um, all the teams that went into the Christmas either played poor, the home teams either played poor or they just lost the game. Maybe Christmas was a home team was a distraction for the home team because the away teams they didn't have no problem. I guess because they knew a year almost 6-7 months ahead that they had to play Christmas, so they adjusted. So they didn't really care and made adjustments. But Philly played poorly. The Chiefs lost. The 49ers played lost. It just maybe it's one of them things. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. But
Well, and the 49ers tried to avoid it. Kyle Shanahan talked about the night before he had everybody stay in the team hotel. He didn't want them at home on Christmas Eve. So I think he saw that was a potential and he tried to avoid it, and it just didn't work for him.
Yeah,
So,
they had Christmas presents and
yeah.
they Christmas dinner on their mind, and you with the family, you know. This is they're probably thinking about, hey, get with the family, which is natural, it's human nature,
Yeah,
leading
absolutely.
up to
They're
that game.
humans.
But
Yep.
they're not taking nothing from the Ravens. They played a great game plan, and they kept to the game plan. They never swayed from it. They never panicked after the safety. So kudos to them. Good, well coached game, and let's see what happens going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Vegas, thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Keep it up. All right, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's a good call. I've never talked to Vegas before. Got a couple super chats from Keith. I want to hit these up, especially the second one here. He says they made Brock look like a second-year quarterback. Absolutely. It's going to happen. Nobody comes into this league, tears it up, and gets out unscathed. So not a big deal. But he talks about the pickup of Sebastian Joseph Day, which I love the pickup. I think he's only like 28. He's a big body, good run defender, was a captain on the Chargers. They let him go. I think probably trying to do him a favor, maybe let him go chase a ring somewhere. I was shocked that the 49ers got him, and I'm very happy that they did get him. But the first question that came to my mind is, okay, you're not signing somebody like this. In my opinion, I could be wrong. We'll see. But it feels like you're not making this signing if Eric Armstead is healthy. And I think that they're worried about Eric Armstead long term, maybe for the rest of the season, at least through the rest of the regular season, the next couple of games. And they're trying to figure it out. And I think it was a great signing, but it makes me question where Eric Armstead is at with this plantar fasciitis. It doesn't sound like this thing is going away. And unfortunately, the Niners kicked the can down the road again on Eric Armstead's contract. So if this really is a long-term thing, they got to deal with it all next year too. They don't have an out on that contract until the end of next year. They were supposed to have one at the end of this year, decided to forego that so they could free up some cap space. So that's where they're at. Hopefully Eric can get it figured out. It sounds like it's a pain tolerance thing. Shocked that they haven't been able to heal what he's got going on with plantar fasciitis. It's very curable. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's going on, man. We'll see. But that was my initial thought. What's going on with Eric Armstead, and is he healthy? Because it doesn't seem like he's going to be for some time potentially, and that's why they would sign that. But we'll see. We're going to go to Flav, Niner Gang, and then Monsa. What's up, Flav?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How was your Christmas?
It was nice. I was down in San Diego where my sister lives, and yeah, so I watched the game there and different atmosphere, which was a little tough, but I just for whatever reason, man, the loss doesn't really concern me. I think we've seen enough of Purdy now to know that that's not him. I think we've seen, obviously, yeah, it's only been a year and a half or whatever it's been. You can't call him elite or that sort of thing, but I think we've seen enough to know that he's not gonna throw 4 picks a game regularly.
Right.
And so as long as we still get the 1 seed, then I'm okay with the loss. I think that there's a lot of benefits to it. I've been strongly in favor of Brock earning the MVP, but the other side is maybe it's a good thing that he kind of took himself out of the race. Maybe he's better as kind of the underdog without that kind of weight or added pressure on his shoulders. Like, let's get the distraction of that out of here and just let him go play football again and feel like, he has more to prove now because people are going to be calling him saying that he reverted back to a pumpkin now after this. And so, maybe that's a benefit. The thing that kind of scares me watching it was, back when, I think before the Cleveland game, I remember I reached out to you and I told you, what my concerns were when this team gets down with the offensive line. don't trust them when everybody knows that they have to pass. And especially too, I mean, and it's not just the offensive line, it's scheme. When your scheme is to set up a play action pass and everyone knows that you're not running the ball, the play action isn't, no one's biting on the play action. And so it's just tough. And, watching it yesterday was the same kind of story, except it was weird because it was like, we're down by 21. There's no urgency. And Purdy's throwing little dump passes to CMC the whole time. And it's like, dude, let's throw the ball down the field at least. And I don't know whether it was just fear to, because he didn't want to throw more interceptions, or I don't know what that was. It wasn't until Darnold came in and they finally were like, hey, let's go, hurry up. And things started to open up. And to that last caller's point, it's like they finally started getting Ayuk the ball and, using other people other than CMC, and things kind of opened up. And so, you'd like to see more of that sooner when we do fall behind, as opposed to, sticking with the same old plan, because I just think it doesn't work. And I also, the one question I do have about Brock that kind of scares me is it does kind of feel like once he throws an interception or things we get behind, it seems like the wheels kind of start coming off a little bit. That's a little concerning. It's like, you want to see him be able to overcome that and get back on a track at some point. But, other than that, again, it's like things change so quickly. I think we'll come out, we'll get a win next week. This will be like a distant memory, but then we're going to have a huge game versus the Rams. And that's scary because I think, if we don't win realistically, I mean, the Lions play the Cowboys this week. That's going to be a big game. Let's say that the Lions end up winning. If we don't win, we would probably end up being the 3 seed behind the Lions and the Eagles, which might mean that we potentially have to play the Rams again the very next week if they're the 6th seed, depending on where it comes out. And I don't know, to me, that would be kind of a very tough scenario to basically have to lose 2 out of 3. And then all of a sudden now we're looking at this tough road. And to me, it's like, all I really want is to be able to experience going through playoffs relatively healthy, or our key pieces being healthy. That's like the main thing. But even when we've been there and been relatively healthy, when we have to go on the road in the playoffs, we run out of gas because of all the traveling. And then, injuries are going to happen the more that you're out there. And so ideally you want the 1 seed and to be relatively healthy. We're so damn close. I hope we'll pull it off. And I know I'm over my time. I'll just say this. The one thing that I do kind of feel good about is just the Rams. To me, they're kind of, especially the last 6 weeks, kind of been like the Cowboys, where it's very hard to see how good they really are, because they did play the Ravens tough. They lost that game. But aside from that, they're kind of beating up on teams that are not really that impressive. And so it's really tough to gauge like how good they actually are. Like, are they, a better than mediocre team, or are they actually a top of the line, playing better than, the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Lions sort of team? It's just very tough to gauge right now. So I don't know, man. But like I said, if we end up winning the next 2 games, I think this ultimately wasn't a bad thing. If we end up losing, obviously this was kind of a nightmare. But
I agree. Yeah, it really comes down to week 17, because I think Washington, like we all agree, that's probably going to be a win. And then week 17, what do you do? And if the Rams season's on the line, it could get interesting, right? Like, they have something really big to fight for too. And I agree with you. I think the Rams, I don't know that they're the most complete team, but they're a scary team. And Matthew Stafford is a good quarterback. And ultimately, that's what I do know. And when you have good quarterbacks on the other side, we've seen a few of them this year do their thing against this defense. And there's not much that the defense could do to stop it. And that's where things worry me a little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Who's the dude? I'm terrible with names, man. I forget names, but
Yeah.
the dude that we picked up this week, the corner that he was on the team for years. We just picked him up.
Verrett?
Yeah, Verrett.
Yeah.
He was out there yesterday. How come? Like, who was he play? Like, whose spot was he in when he was out there?
Ambry's, but he was playing in the nickel, and they moved Lenore back outside.
Why was that? Why? What's
I asked the same question, but then I heard that maybe Ambry tweaked something in the game, but I never really got confirmation, so I don't know. I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but it was interesting, bro. I got him stacking up. I got to let you go, Flav.
All right, buddy. Later.
All right, man. Later. Yeah, man. I don't know. At first I was like, this whole rotation thing is weird because they really went through him, but then I swear somebody said Ambry was hurt, but I didn't catch that, so I don't know. Maybe somebody can set me straight on that one. I got Niner Gang, Monsa, Ricky, and then Adam. What's up, Niner Gang?
What's going on, Jesse? How we doing, man?
Doing good, man. I feel like we need your optimism right now.
Oh, man, I just want to be like, that was a wild game, man, and it was wild from the beginning, and it is what it is, man. You can't win them all, and, one thing I was thinking about, man, I was thinking about you and your kid when I was watching that game, man, and
Thanks,
I was
bro.
like, how can you be sad as a father watching your son be so excited? He had to be happy, right? Jumping through the roof, right?
So happy. Yes, of course, man. Yes, there was being upset that the Niners were losing, but then the flip side is like, I mean, he's just having the time of his life watching his team win. You can't be mad at that. So
makes it all worth it, man. And it is what it is, man. It's an L. As long as we go ahead and cash in on these last two games, we'll be all right, man. And I don't know if it was just me, but that game just seemed off from snap one, man. The Niners just seemed off. They just couldn't get nothing to go right, man. It was just one of them games, and it is what it is, and move on to the next, brother. That's all we can do, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it was interesting because everything started out really good. You had the Ravens go 3-and-out. Then the 49ers are marching down the field like nothing. Brock throws the pick. You're like, okay, bad pick. Could have been 7 there. But then you get the safety and you get the ball back and you're thinking, all right, here we go. And then the wheels just fell completely off, man. Fell completely off.
It was super strange, man. It was just like nothing. If something was going to go wrong, it was going to go wrong last night. I mean, we depleted our whole offensive line. That is insanity, man. But, everybody wants to doubt Brock. I think you said it best, 3 years is a minimum as far as that goes. But, he'll shake it. Hopefully he shakes it off, man. Gives a little morale boost next week for, Washington, and then get ready for them Rams, boy. This is what I didn't want to see, Jesse. I did not want to see this, okay? I want to go into that Rams game like, win or lose, it doesn't matter, bro. You guys, it is what it is. But
yeah, the Rams are they seem very similar to the team 2 years ago that ended up beating the Rams, ironically enough, in Week 18, the 49ers. Very similar to that team. So I'm curious to see how that one plays out.
Well, I'm just looking at it like the Rams are coming on strong at the right time. And, man, all of a sudden we got big injury concerns now on our side. So we'll see. The Rams stay healthy, man. That's good thing is, I guess we're in the playoffs, and Niners, for whatever reason, like to play with their back against the wall. So maybe that's their whole game plan, Jess. Let's put our backs against the wall. Let's do this. Who knows? I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Really, what we want to do is just ruin the Rams. We just want to rip their heart out, and so we're gonna go ahead and play really hard Week 18 and take them out of the playoffs. That's what we really want to do.
Yeah, it sounds like a Kyle plan, if you ask me, man. But last thing I'll say, man, before I let you cut, because I know you got other folks waiting, is I think Kyle Shanahan's game plan was completely backwards, man. He should have came out running to open up the pass. And he tried to open up the run game with the passing game, and that didn't work, man, because, man, them Ravens they're fast, man. They're fast. And they just fly around that field, boy, and they was on us. So that's all I got to say, my brother.
They were everywhere, man. They were everywhere. It was crazy. Kyle Hamilton was everywhere. Uh, Humphrey was everywhere. It was just a good game plan by the Ravens. Very good game plan.
How you get chop block, bro, and get up and get an interception?
Dude, right? That's the that was so crazy when you look at that play and you're like, oh my gosh, he was chop blocked on the ground, gets up and ends up making a pick. It was, yeah, shout out to him. I hope he's healthy. I really do. I hope he's healthy.
That's the football guys, bro, getting us back for last week because we were so impressed with how McCaffrey can get so open, catch the ball, and fall on the ground and get back up and score. That's
Yeah.
all guys righting them wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah.
that should happen in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Hey, thanks for calling in, man. We'll talk soon.
Not a problem, Jess. Have a good night, buddy.
All right, man. You too. All right. Optimistic. I love it. I knew he'd bring some optimism for sure. I was all about it. Okay, we're going to go to Monsa, then Ricky, then Adam. Let me drop the link. There's a couple of you that are asking for it. I'm going to throw it in there for you. There you go. All right. Let's go to Monsa. What's up, Monsa?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Man,
How are you?
My son, because you know my middle son, he's a Ravens fan.
So you felt the same thing I felt last night?
He lives out of state, so we weren't able to watch the game together.
Oh, okay.
But he's sending memes to his brother because his little brother is a 49ers fan. So he's sending memes to his little brother, and then of course he FaceTimed me right after the game. So he got his moment to shine on us there.
He's trolling. He was trolling.
Yeah, he was trolling, but it was enjoyable because he would have got it if we would have won. So it's all good. But I did want to bring up because I watched you and coach after the game.
Yeah,
and I know you keep hearing me pushing that button on Detroit. and you guys,
you've been pushing it for a while now. You've been pushing it for a while. I'm not gonna lie.
Say, well, they're a year away, and I think they're a year away from their potential Super Bowl run. But I really believe it's a bad matchup. And I believe that it's a bad matchup because they have the big back, which causes problems for us. We have this issue against Arizona, but they also have Jahmyr Gibbs now. Mm-hmm. And we miss a lot of tackles.
And a really good offensive line.
And they have a really good offensive line. And then they also have a really good defensive line. And I just think that they can make it a messy game. They can control the clock. I just think it's a bad matchup for us. And they can surprise us because their coach can get them up to play with effort. And I never watched the Ravens. I hadn't watched the Ravens at all this year. Man, they play with a tenacity. They play ferocious, and we don't play like that. Like and I'm looking at these are the two best defenses in the league, and they play ferocious football. Like they go like when you got lead blocks and we're coming. They're going in and they're eating the lead block. I mean, they're putting their bodies on the line. And, it's crazy. And I just think that, the Lions coach can coach his players up. He's got a no-name defense, but I think he can coach his players up to play with that ferocity. So that's why I just think it's a bad matchup for the 49ers. I don't think it's a bad matchup for a lot of other teams, but for the 49ers, I just think they're a bad matchup. And
yeah, man, you might be right about that. Here's what I'll say. To me, I look at the physicality side, and I think offensively they bring a physicality that can give our defense some problems. I look at their defense though, and there's nothing really over there that is overly scary. And when I look at it, it's just I can't get over Goff and he just panics. I watched way more football than I should, really. But I've seen a lot of the Lions as well. I've got a friend that's a Lions fan, and so we talk quite a bit. And every time I watch Jared Goff, I'm texting him, I'm like, bro, I don't know how you stand watching this guy for 60 minutes week in and week out. He is terrible when there's pass rush in his face. He just falls into sacks. So I don't know.
But that's what I mean, though. That's why, like, if their run game, if they're putting up 200, 250 yards on the ground, which they could try, if they go to that style of play, they could limit Jared Goff's and his limitations. But I understand why people go to Jared Goff because it's Jared Goff. So and I definitely agree there.
Well, and it will be tough to stop if they can't get home. Then they are those weapons. I mean, you're talking about St. Brown, Williams is coming into his own form. He's got a great tight end in Laporta, two very good running backs, a good offense. I mean, they've got a lot going on over there offensively. So, you give them another draft to get their defense right, and Lions are not to be messed with going forward. I'll tell you that right now.
And then another thing is everybody kind of looks at the Lions as trash bags, and I think that our team can overlook people, and that's why. And it's another reason why I just really think it's a bad matchup. But I did want to throw in everybody's. You got people going crazy thinking they need to defend Brock, and it's a lot of 49ers fans that do the homerism thing, and I'm not one of them. But when he threw he threw the picks, and it's like he threw 4 interceptions. He's a second-year quarterback, and this is why, going into the beginning of the season, I'm not going to get too high on Brock. I'm not going to get too low on Brock because Brock's a second-year quarterback making $900,000 a year. It's either going to be I'm on Kyle about it, win or lose. Hey, I'm putting it on Kyle's lap because Kyle came up with that game plan. And with Christian McCaffrey getting 100 yards on 14 carries, and if you wanted to make it an MVP versus MVP thing, he should have fed his MVP. He should have. That's the game where people are telling you, "Hey, man, take it easy on the touches on McCaffrey." The game wasn't this game against the Ravens. You should have been McCaffrey. You should have been McCaffrey, and he wasn't, and I don't get it. So, I mean, I just think that was a poor showing on Kyle's part, and I really just put that loss solely on Kyle. You can't blame Wilkes for fighting against 4 turnovers. They had they had 3 turnovers in the first half. The game was still within reach. You can't bag on the defense on that one. I mean, he's not out there. He's not on the field. The Warner's missing tackles. We're missing a lot of tackles. And
tons of tackles.
We missed tons of tackles. Every week we're double digits in missed tackles. I don't know if you've seen the stat how many we missed last night. But I expect us to bounce back though against the Redskins. I expect us to have.
I hope they can beat Washington. It'd be terrible if not.
But we're gonna have that's going to be a very interesting Week 18 matchup against the Rams.
I can't wait. I'm excited. It's the interesting thing about losing is the overall interest in Week 18 now becomes big.
Yes.
The interest in the playoffs gets elevated because we're kind of sleepwalking as fans. We thought, hey, we got this thing wrapped up. And I think NFC wise, they still probably do. But overall, now you're looking at it and saying, okay, things are interesting. They're going to really have to bring their lunch pail week in and week out. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm really excited.
Yeah. It's going to be because I've kind of been on snooze. Man.
For sure. Let's just get to the playoffs already. Now it got interesting.
Now it's like, okay, well, yeah, let me tune in real close on these last couple of weeks. It's going to get real interesting.
Yeah,
especially,
for sure.
And then at the same time, I mean, there's so many storylines: Philly, Dallas, the Rams, Detroit. I mean, there's a lot of storylines in the NFC, which we haven't had. Multiple storylines. It's usually just 2 teams the past 3 or 4 years. And now it's like challenging it's challenging where there are, a couple of teams that could provide good matchups and good playoff games that we can actually tune in and actually like. So,
speaking of Detroit, I think they have Dallas in Dallas this week. So this will be a fun one because Dallas is a different team at home. Dak's a different player at home. So I'm curious to see what the Lions are able to do with Dallas. I think that'll be a good little litmus test.
I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I really do.
Probably. All right, bro. I got to get to the next one.
All right. Take it easy, man.
All right, later. The great JM says, what happened to Rad? He was the Lions half of this channel for a long time. For those of you that have been here for quite a while, we talk all the time. When I said I've got a friend that's a Lions fan, that's who I'm referring to. In fact, he sent me a text tonight and he said, hey, are the Ravens that good or are the 49ers overrated? And I said, I think styles make matchups. The AFC North is just a different style division. And it's just one of those matchups that's not good for the 49ers. So that's my opinion on it. All right, I'm going to go to Ricky, Adam, Mr. Blue Magic, and then Skit.
What's going on, sir?
What's up, Ricky? How are you?
Good. Let me start off with the bad.
All right, let's do it.
Like other people said, this was on Kyle because, like you said before, Kyle, I think sometimes he outsmarts himself, and Kyle did the same thing in the Philly game where he opened up the game passing. when we should have opened up the game running. And so with that, you put Brock out there, and we were moving the ball. And I blame Brock for that first INT. The other ones, I'm like, that's kind of iffy, more of a defensive good play, even though Hamilton's was a great play as well. But I think that first one was a bad decision on Brock. But more importantly, my issue with Kyle, because this is the first game I've seen in a while where it gave me like that 2019 vibe when we were in the Super Bowl, because of the fact like we had a game plan, because we only scored one touchdown outside of Darnold's late by running the ball, and then for some reason he got away from it. And the thing about it, he's smart, he's super smart, but I think he can outsmart himself sometimes. I really hope his dad or somebody says, look, you have the number one rusher in the league. There's no reason you should keep using a lot of empty setback. Run the ball down their throats, because as an offensive lineman, it's different if they're pass blocking versus if they're running. They get to impose their will on the linebackers, the D line, everybody, and that will take some of the steam out of them versus if they're just get to pin their ears back, whatever. But having said all that, I think this was a good humbling game, because I think as a Niner fan, how could you not have your chest poked out? Look, we already considered what the best two teams, two out of the best three teams in the NFC, and we smoked them. We beat the Cowboys bad, 42-10, 42-19 on the Eagles. So of course we're proud like a peacock. And I think with this game, it will humble us and it will make us refocus on things. Because like you said before, we saw missed blocks. We saw Brock was rattled on some stuff, and Brock even admitted sometimes it's okay just to check down. You don't have every play doesn't have to be the ooh and ah play. Sometimes, yes, you want to buy time, but sometimes when in a game that's nip and tuck, sometimes just take whatever the defense is giving you, live to play another down and things like that. And I think with this game, I'd rather us have this kind of game now than versus in the playoffs. So I think it's going to we will refocus, because now can't anybody say, well, I played good? No, nobody's above saying critique and criticism. We all play bad as a unit, starting from the head coach down to everybody. But I think this game should humble us, but also put a fire back in. It's like, oh, so if you want to be who you really are, you're going to have to earn it and prove it again, because somebody just came into your own home, sat on your couch, opened the refrigerator, ate your cookies, ate the chicken, turned on the TV, watched everything, used your rest, took a dump in your bathroom, left it, didn't flush, didn't do anything. They basically came in there and owned you in our own thing. So now, if you don't like that feeling, what we're doing for number one, we're playing for number one seed. So therefore, we can number one get rest for a week, but then we can also play like we're supposed to be, dominant, very physical, and I think that's the way we got to go. For those who are dumping on Purdy right now, come on, man, he's not. He had a bad game, and I'll be the first one to say he had a bad game. I'll be the first one to say I wasn't even really a believer, honestly, until this year, and it was honestly the Cleveland game. The Cleveland game is a game that actually made me be like, okay, this guy got something, because for him to get beat up that bad, he still brought the ball down. And if we don't miss that field goal, then we're talking about that was a gritty grind out win. That was a gritty grind out win. So I just need our coach to, number one, be more flexible and not just, well, this is what I have for the drawing board, so this is how I got to call everything. And then number two, recognize what's working and stick with it. Because if the running game is working, guess what? Run the ball down their throats. We did it in the playoffs versus Green Bay. So do that again. So what's your thoughts?
Listen, man, I the biggest thing that I want to kind of go back to, you talked about early, was Brock Purdy and what he acknowledged. One thing that I was really that was encouraging to me about Brock was his post-game press conference and the way that he talked about that loss and the way that he played, how disappointed he was in himself, but knowing that he has to stand tall when things are going well and when they are not. And I love that about him. I feel like Brock has a good perspective on who he is what he wants to do. And I think that he's ultimately going to be okay because of it. But that was kind of the biggest takeaway that I had. And when you brought it up, I couldn't stop thinking about. It's like, okay, I want to talk about that press conference because I did. I think it was a very, very good look into the mentality of Brock Purdy.
I agree because I think the thing is I like when a quarterback uses I, we in reverse order. Like we won as a team, I played bad.
Yep.
Versus previous before when we had Jimmy G, no shade or whatever, but when we were losing,
He was
we
French
lost.
in those close games, wasn't he?
Oh man, he was speaking French.
Yeah.
We played bad. No, you played bad. But we played we threw
Ain't
4
no we,
touchdowns.
you. Yeah.
You played, but I mean the thing is, I think because I like his mental makeup. I like the fact he's still humble. And like I said, we're just gonna rally. It was humbling. Trust me, I'm getting so many Cowboy fans that are like, y'all frauds, this, whatever. And I'm like, shut up. We beat you 42-10. It's
That
almost
is a
like
team that cannot talk right now, the way that they've been
but they
losing to these teams.
do. But they do. But they do. And it's just funny. It's almost like you beat me, but somebody else beats you, and I'm laughing. And you say, how you got beaten? You're like, but you beat, but I beat you, and so that's what I'm laughing at. But hey, keep doing your thing, Jesse.
Thanks,
I'm a
bro.
big fan of. I like you and Coach. I like you and Pig and the Pickle, Krug show, and everybody else. It's all fun, man. And I just think this year, with this humbling loss, especially near the end, I think it really was one to kind of wake us up. I don't know what it is about the AFC North. But we have to figure it out. Kyle, go and talk with your dad by yourself because your dad has 3 chips. He has back to back. He won one with the 94 with 49 to 23, something like 26, something like that, versus the Chargers. So yeah, go and talk with your dad. And his dad was notorious for cranking out 1,400 yard rushers. It didn't matter who it was.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. The Orlando Scaries and all those guys back in the day, they were getting the job done regardless. So I feel it. I definitely feel it. Great call, Ricky. Call in anytime. I appreciate the support, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. That's right. Let's go. It was a good call, man. Good perspective in that call. Just broke it down. I enjoyed it. Keith says, I think if the Bears and Packers can beat the Lions, it's a good matchup for us. Yeah. I really hate looking at division games for teams and saying, okay, well, if this team in the division, it's like division games are always interesting. They just are, and a lot of people interestingly enough, Keith, looked at the way the Rams played the Ravens are like, oh, well, I mean, if they could go to Baltimore and imagine what we're going to do to that defense. Yeah, you can imagine. And it didn't go very well. I bet you it didn't go how you imagined it was going to go. Let's just say that. So I don't know, man. Styles make fights. I think when you get in division, and by the way, Keith, I'm on your side. I don't think that the Lions are a team that can beat the 49ers, or they can, but I'm not going to give them a big chance to beat the 49ers. But I don't look at that and say, okay, that's the reason why. You know what I mean? He says the Lions secondary is suspect. We'd score 40 on them. Yeah, maybe, but they also are getting a very, very good safety back who's been out for a big portion of this year. So, and they like to run 3 safeties, and they have 3 very, very good ones. So, I think that secondary is going to get a little bit better, but I tend to agree. I think they're a year away. I do. Flav says the Rams are ending the year like us in 21, but they definitely don't have RD. Pause. Offense is better than it's been because of their run game. I agree. This is arguably the best run game that Stafford has enjoyed in his career. Kyron Williams is playing very good football, but I think our D should get more stops than theirs if we are healthy. Yeah, man, I feel it. I definitely do. Sean coming in with the huge super chat. Sean, thank you so much, brother. He says, hey, Jesse, I'm an unbiased Cowboys fan. I've been watching you. Probably came over from some of those crossover shows. Sean, I appreciate you. Says the 49ers are still the best team. The 49ers blew the Eagles and us out. Disappointed about the Cowboys. Hope they can rebuild. 49ers are a great team, and nothing but respect to you and respect for all you do. Sean, thank you so much. And I think, what's cool about the crossover shows and Behind Enemy Lines is there has been a few people from each team that has just stuck around. just because they want to know about other teams, and they pop in and out here at Last Second Sports. And I would say that those people that have stuck around have been very fair about the 49ers, very kind, and just speaking their mind. I know that Luke's another one, Eagles fan, and he has nothing but good things to say, and I love it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at another team and just kind of admiring what they have going on and appreciate what they have going on, even if they're not your favorite team or a rival team or what have you. So appreciate you, Sean. And Daz, it says the 49ers' biggest concern should be the health of our O-line. We played a linesman last night I had never heard of. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. I agree with you. So it is a concern. All right, we're going to go Adam, Mr. Blue Magic, and then Skit. What's up, Adam?
Hey, what's up, Jesse? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How you been?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, for sure. What's on your mind?
So I want to talk a little bit about this Ravens game. So,
Yes, sir.
man, I was at the game last night.
Okay.
Had high expectations going into the game, man. I was like anticipating the whole week. Just got disappointed, man. Disappointed. At the beginning of the game, man, the stadium was like electrifying, man. It was
Man.
great atmosphere, everything. And man, I watched the game live, and the 49ers, they was moving the ball. They was moving the ball up and down the field. And then pick after pick after pick, and like every pick after the other, it's like the confidence went down a little bit, then a little bit, then a little bit more. But like you were saying on your other show, I think you did with Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
at halftime, I it still felt like the 49ers could have win that game.
Yeah, I
Like
thought they were going to.
I thought they were going to come back and win that game. And
Yeah.
man, it was crazy seeing Lamar in person. That defense was flying around like crazy. And props to them. They played a great game, and for whatever reason, it just felt like it wasn't our day. It wasn't our day that night. And Purdy, for whatever reason, he couldn't calm himself down the whole game. He was just amped up, and it was crazy because every time they gave the ball to Christian McCaffrey, it seemed like he was about to break one every time he got the ball. And then they just stopped giving him the ball, and every play was like, okay, they're gonna hand off now, but nope, pass, and pass after pass, and then next thing you know, we end the game with 5 interceptions. Sam Darnold threw that last one. It was like, whatever. He should have just thrown the ball away and not take that sack. But either way, though, man, it wasn't our day for whatever reason. Brock was just shooken up the whole game. For a guy who been really poised, it's just like really it was so shocking to see him out there and throwing interception after interception. It was just like so uncharacteristic of him. And I mean, yeah, he was playing the number one defense, but at the same time, it seemed like he was trying to go for the knockout punch, every time he threw the ball, and it was just coming right back to him to bite him. And I definitely agree. They needed to run the ball, slow down the game from him. Our run game was doing really well. Our defense was holding up really well too until they just kept giving them bad field position after bad field position. And like you said, there's only so much you can do after you give Lamar the ball, 3, 4 turnovers in a row. You know what I mean? It's Lamar Jackson. He's gonna make something happen. So overall, I think it wasn't our day that game. From the way that they was playing, moving the ball, I could still, see some good into it. That I definitely, like you said, I mean, if we play them again, if we do get the shot, which I really hope we do, I think that game is gonna go different if Kyle doesn't get in his head again like he always does in big games. And yeah, I mean, it sucked because it was supposed to be such a big game. It was supposed to be the game of the year, number one against number one. I just feel like we didn't get to see the full potential of this matchup.
Adam, I agree with you, and it felt like when we played the Eagles, but in reverse, right? Like it was supposed to be two juggernauts, and one team showed up and the other one didn't. And this time around, it was the 49ers that didn't show up. Here's what I will say: I do agree that it'll be a different game, and I see Cosmos in here. He says, "I'm not concerned if they play him again." I'm not going to say I'm concerned, but if they play him again, we can almost guarantee that they're probably going to get at least 2 turnovers. Right? Like they figured out something against the 49ers. They're going to force turnovers. Now, the 49ers can return the favor because they didn't force any themselves last night. But I think that we're in a situation where we look at it and say, okay, likely that team knows how to force turnovers on the 49ers. And so they're going to have to make sure that they stop the Ravens from capitalizing, and then they force a couple of their own, because that is something that didn't happen last night.
Yeah, just take care of the ball and figure out how to get a turnover on them as well. And then one more thing I do want to say is, man, I still believe in this team.
I agree.
I still think they're the best team in the NFC. The only thing that I feel that can stop us from getting to the Super Bowl is injuries. So we just need to, man, we need to make a run these last 2 games, and we need that number 1 bye, man, because we got our offensive line banged up. We got guys on the D line banged up. Brock Purdy's banged up. So that number 1 seed is going to be so important to us. And I think we get it. I think we can get it.
And they're going to have to go earn it now, which makes it fun, And I agree. I believe in this team. I think they're going to get the number 1 seed, and I think they're going to come back rested and ready to go in the divisional round. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. All right, Jesse.
All right,
Thanks
Adam.
for letting me call in. God bless, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we're going to go Mr. Blue Magic, Skit, Waruna, and then Alex. Let's keep this thing going. Mr. Blue Magic, what's up, man?
Jesse, it's mob in Brooklyn in the building. You already know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
You already know. I'm coming in with that. We ain't moving no goalposts.
I got you.
We're not doing that. And I don't care who feels some type of way. Brock played like a dumpster fire.
It was bad. It was
bad. I'm tired of this. We can critique every other quarterback in the league that's not on this team. We could trash Jimmy now when majority of Brock fans was saying Jimmy was the savior. Brock played like hot garbage.
He did. And here's what I want to say, Mr. Blue Magic. I kind of get your frustration from the standpoint of it does feel like you can't have an honest conversation when he doesn't play well, and that can be a little bit frustrating.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
You can't critique or anything without people protecting him. But I would say this though too. I think that it does go both ways too, because I look at the other side. I can't control what other people say. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, right? You're going to talk about what you want to talk about. But what I can say is I want to see it from both sides to a certain extent and say, yes, I agree. People get way too into this and want to protect them too much. But there is another side that's like, anytime you see this type of game from Brock, not this type of game, he's never had this type of game, but not a good game, people are ready to pile on. And so I understand that side of it as well. But we do have to get to a point where we can have honest conversations, because the way that I see it is we've got a big portion that is very willing to hold other quarterbacks in this league accountable. But when Brock doesn't play well, they don't want to hold him accountable.
It's deeper than that. Jesse is deeper than that. So I've literally seen the defense getting blamed for this loss.
I mean, come on, man. The defense really.
A defense that had to fight off 3 turnovers in the first half, and still we had numerous opportunities in the second half. A defense that was on the field for way longer than they should have been. So considering that, and considering where we were before the 4th pick, you still want to blame the defense. And I am looking at Kyle because it felt to me like Kyle wanted to put the MVP conversation to rest. It felt like what Seattle did in the Super Bowl. We're not going to let Marshawn Lynch be the face, so we're going to have Russell throw the game-winning touchdown instead of running the ball 2 centimeters away from the end zone. It felt like, the problem I have is because I don't come on to pile on Brock, but fans, this is something else that we have to understand. When people have an honest assessment of in-game play and y'all make excuses for poor play, it makes people react with over criticism. And Brock gets so much over criticism, and it's not fair to him. It's not fair to Brock. And as as fans of the same team, we shouldn't be beefing like one of us is a Seattle fan and one of us is a San Fran fan. Like the type of stuff I'll be seeing on Twitter and on a video comments and all of that, it's crazy. The Ravens are a great team.
Very good team. Very, very good team.
And when you listen to a lot of the players on the Niners after the game, it sounds like they didn't take the Ravens serious. If you listen to some of the comments after the game, it sounds like the Niners once again came into this whole, we're listening to all the hype. We beat Dallas, we beat Philly. They're supposed to be the juggernauts. And Jesse, I said this a couple of weeks ago. If you really break down our wins, I can give the argument that we really ain't play nobody. Dallas is only good at home. Philly's been squeaking by, getting fluky wins all season. So who have we really played? When you look at all the teams we've played this year, and you go into the injuries, we played majority of the teams this year missing key starting players. On top of the teams just not being very good. So I still believe that we're the best team in the NFC, but I also believe that the playoffs is a different animal.
They're going to have to bring everything they got, Mr. Blue Magic. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Once you get to the playoffs, it gets a little bit tougher. Teams turn it up. I agree with that.
We slept on the Browns. We slept on Minnesota. We slept, and even now we're sleeping on Detroit. Detroit got a hell of a team. I don't know. Maybe it's because some fans don't watch anything outside of Niners. Detroit is one of those matchups we don't want to see. Detroit can be a matchup that we saw against Minnesota this year. The Rams can be a matchup we saw against the Bengals this year. And remember, when we saw the Rams, Kyron Williams wasn't established and Kupp wasn't there. Like we keep going off this whole, oh, well, we're blowing everybody out. Yeah, that's cool in the regular season. Like don't forget, not too long ago, We beat the Rams, 30 million times in a row, and then came when it counted, we didn't. And I think the team itself is doing this. I think they're overlooking teams. I think, and the media plays a big part. And for people who say that players don't listen to the media and
Well, they do. They
not on,
do.
absolutely. Come
They
on,
do. Especially this team, Mr. Blue Magic, and I'm going to let you go after this because I got people waiting, but especially this team because you've got 3 prominent players on this team that have their own podcasts. They're definitely listening to what other people are saying. 100% they are.
that's a fact. I catch up with you, Jesse. It's good to see you finally got some time to do a call-in show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Across, I had to come through.
Thanks, Mr. Blue Magic. I'll talk to you later, man. Later. Hey, that's what this call-in show is all about, though. You got to get it off not only your chest, but you got to get it off your heart sometimes. Daniel says Debo as a punt returner was interesting. He's done it. He's done it though. He's been doing it the last couple of weeks. I mean, you're saying a punt returner. I see what you're saying. Okay. You mean kickoff returner though? I mean, he's done this a little bit as a kickoff returner in the playoffs. He did it against first time that I remember seeing it was against the Packers 2021 playoffs. I think second half of that game, if I'm not mistaken, is the first time. But yeah, man, I don't know. I enjoy him back there. I do. All right. Skits looks like his audio might work. It may not. We'll see. We'll see if this works here. What's up, Skit?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, all right, okay. It's just your webcam's off. All right, no big deal. All right, man.
I didn't allow access to it.
Yeah, it's all good, man. How you doing?
All right, I'm for the most part I'm vibing. Other than devastating loss, and I had food poisoning yesterday, but it was just a bad day. We're on a new day.
Yeah, dude. That's the worst Christmas ever.
Yeah, it was bad. But one of the main things for me, right, is Purdy played bad. Obviously, there's no question about that. But I still put so much of this blame on Kyle. Like I think going into the second or the end of the second quarter, we were only down I think 6 at that point, or maybe I might be off a little bit. But it's like, bruh, let's literally slow down the game. Like, why can't we even take a timeout? Hell, fuck it. It's the first. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss.
No, you're good. It was a 4-point game at halftime, 16 to 12.
Exactly. It's like, let's take a timeout. Let's just deep breath and let's run this ball, run it raw, and then maybe throw another deep ball again because it was hitting, but it's I don't know. Here's a question for you. Actually, is why do you think Kyle has this in him? It's clearly in him, and he's been in this situation multiple times, but he just can't get over it for some reason.
He's such it is interesting. One thing that I notice about Kyle is he is a hell of a game planner. Comes up with great game plans. But when those game plans don't work the way that he expected or the way that he envisioned them, things get interesting because it does seem like it takes him longer to adjust. His adjustments, in-game adjustments, are not always poignant and ready to go the way that some other coaches are. And I think that is a miss on his part for sure.
Yeah. Did you watch Grant stream at all today?
No.
Okay, well, or maybe he was on, I don't know, but he had his tinfoil hat on, and he was saying that he thinks Kyle was trying to make Sam look good because they were on the 1 yard line. You easily could have ran it in, and they decided to throw it. He takes a sack, and then you throw it again. Do you think there's any merit to that? A little bit?
No. Here's the way that I saw it is they had one starting offensive lineman in at that point, and he was playing out of position. Or two starting offensive linemen, and one of them was playing out of position. You only have your timeouts. You're past the 2-minute warning. You've got to score quickly. They were in a position where they couldn't run the ball because if they get a stop there, if they stop the run, the clock continues to go. Now you either got to use a timeout.
That's a good point.
So to me, no, I don't. I love Grant. I love his theories, but no, I completely disagree with that.
Yeah, no, I get it. And then out of the top 3 teams out of the AFC, if we make it to the Super Bowl, because I think we are. I mean, we've beaten everybody that matters to me, other than Detroit, but their defense just really doesn't scare me. I mean, obviously we'd have to play them and see what happens, but which top 3 from the AFC do you think would pose the biggest challenge? And then I
You
guess
want,
the
me to
other
give
end of
them in
that
order,
would be
or
the easiest. Yeah, there you go. In
yeah,
order.
yeah. The way that I see it is any team with an elite quarterback is going to give the 49ers problems, because elite quarterbacks dictate to the defense the way that day is going to go. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. Doesn't mean that they're going to play great, but there's nothing you can do to stop an elite quarterback. So the teams that worry me the most, the Ravens, obviously, they're the most complete team in the whole AFC, maybe the whole NFL outside of the 49ers. Then I'm going to go to Buffalo, just because Buffalo overall, I think, is slightly hotter right now and better than the Chiefs. And then I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I don't care how many games they lose.
Yep.
You get Patrick Mahomes in a do or die situation. I don't feel good about it. So
Yeah, I mean, even that Raiders game, he was kind of getting dicey towards the end. You're like, is he going to pull this off? Is he going to be Mahomes again? You're just, I mean, I was happy to see the Raiders win, but
yeah.
you always feel like he has that in him. And then my last question for you is, why do you think the Cowboys fans talk so much?
Bro, man, that's like a seventh wonder of the world. If I knew why people flew over the Bermuda Triangle and got lost, I wish I had all the answers. I have no idea. That team, that fan base is so funny to me.
Seriously.
They have no reason to talk the way that they do. But hey, let them. It's all in good fun, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, Skip. Hey, good call, man. I appreciate
yeah.
you.
Appreciate you, bro.
Later, bro. That was funny. Bro, I don't even know. I wish I had the answers. But hey, shout out to my guy, Sean, who's a Cowboys fan, dropped the $99 to do the opposite and give the 49ers a ton of credit. That's a true, he knows exactly what's going on with his team. So, all right, I got to get to one here. We're going to go to Waruna, Alex, and Deshaun. Waruna is a gentleman who used to call in all the time. He was here since like day one of the channel a couple years back. Haven't talked to him in a while. Excited to see what he's up to. Waruna, what's up, man?
I'm good. How are you, Jesse?
I'm doing fantastic. Long time no talk, man.
Yes, I'll send you.
I do, but I don't think that I don't notice the sarcasm on Twitter still. You're very, very good at that. People get very upset with you still. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, still to this day. Even last night, somebody after the game, somebody told me that Brock Purdy is a better pass than Lamar Jackson. I didn't even have enough sarcasm to fight that. But anyway,
hey,
so,
bless your heart, man. Bless your heart.
So anyway, I mean, to me, I'm not disappointed or worried, because yeah, there are a couple of things to be worried. But the first thing is, I don't think it does not change anything about in terms of perspective about this team, because 49ers are still the best team in the NFC. We haven't played Lions, but I don't think if the Cowboys, Eagles, or anyone have any bragging rights to say, okay, give us another chance. We can beat Niners. No, you are not going to beat Niners. Whether at home or away, no, you are not going to beat Niners. It's a hard truth. The worry on the other thing is about Brock Purdy. He had a bad game. Fine. But I have seen worse with Jimmy Garoppolo. I have seen worse. I mean, I'm not sure whether he has thrown 4 interceptions in a game, Jimmy, but I do remember in 2020, first half, 3 interceptions against Dolphins. That game, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick had like perfect passer rating. So we were blown.
Ryan Fitzpatrick that game crushed the 49ers. Really, he crushed what was it, like Dennis Allen or something that we had brought off
Brian
the streets to play corner? Brian Allen. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can say people can say whatever they want, but even at his worst, Brock Purdy is not Jimmy Garoppolo level. He is better than that. And the thing that we have to accept is he is the best option right now 49ers have. I'm glad that's something usually Kyle believes, because when we had the Jimmy versus Trey Lance debate, every time Niners kept saying, we want to play the quarterback who gives us the best opportunity to win. So I'm really glad. I hope they stick to that principle up to now because I believe Brock gives us the best chance to win. So he has a game next week. He can come back. He can come back against Washington. Week 18, it's going to be interesting. Uh, it would be a good game to watch against Rams, but I think we should be fine. My worry is the offensive line. If Trent Williams goes down, then things get tricky. End of the day, issue is like, I mean, we can bash Purdy. Okay, he made boneheaded mistakes, so on and so forth. But no quarterback is going to win a Super Bowl without a good offensive line. Because if you remember the 2020 Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes led Chiefs only scored 9 points. They had banged up offensive line. I mean, they were nowhere. I mean, Mahomes was running for his life. Even Mahomes can't do that if you don't have a good offensive line. So, end of the day, that's on Kyle and John Lynch because other than Trent Williams, we are screwed. If Trent goes down, we are screwed. So that's the part that worries me. That, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, our offensive line, if Trent goes down, then we are in big trouble. Defense, I'm not worrying. Yesterday, they spent too much time on the field. I don't think, even after first 3 turnovers, they only gave away like 8 points, something like that. So they kept us in the game. I mean, it was a 4-point game at the end of the first half. So it was close. I mean, maybe this is, I might be, of course, I'm biased, but I don't. We got thrashed, but I don't think it was similar thrashing that we gave to Eagles or Cowboys. They were embarrassed. They were totally embarrassed. We didn't have that many turnovers. But yesterday, it could have been a close game. Who knows? But and I'm not taking any credit away from Ravens. Lamar Jackson made a statement because last night he told the entire league, okay, do not fucking disrespect me. Sorry for cussing, but he made it clear. Don't do that again. Because he's a former MVP. This guy knows how to. I mean, he's a better passer now compared to his 2019 season. I think he's a better passer now. So he made a statement. I love it. Even though I'm on the opposite side, I love it. When a quarterback comes up, steps up in a big game, carries his team, man, that's awesome to watch. That's NFL at best that you can watch. So end of the day, I still believe this team has a chance to win the Super Bowl. Who knows? Now it's bit. Only thing is now I started to get little bit worried because it seemed like before the Ravens game, it's 49ers Super Bowl to lose because we were doing really good.
It definitely felt that way, Varun. I agree with you.
Yes, so that's the thing. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, but I think Purdy will bounce back next week. So hopefully he'll learn from this. And if he can secure the football, even yesterday, they have a cup. I mean, Ravens defense played pretty well. They forced Purdy to make these mistakes, but if he can protect the football, I think we should be still good.
I agree, Varuna. I think he's going to be fine. I think the 49ers are going to be fine. The AFC is going to be tough, but they only have to beat one of those teams. They don't have to go through the AFC, and that's where the silver lining is. So there we go.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, Jesse.
Absolutely, bro. Call in, man. I miss talking to you, bro. You have a good one, okay?
Okay, good one.
All right, later. Varuna, good call. Good call. Sean says, Jesse, do you think the Dolphins are a good team in the AFC? No. I mean, they don't. I think they're the Cowboys of the AFC. Let me put it that way. I think they're kind of gatekeepers. If you can beat them, then you're a good team, is the way that I look at them. I think they're definitely explosive. They have some good players. They're well coached, but ultimately there's just something missing. And I think if the Dolphins have to play the Ravens, even the Chiefs, the Bills in the playoffs, I don't think they make it past any of those games. So I think they're kind of gatekeepers to what real good teams look like. That's just my personal opinion. So we'll see, though. We'll see. I mean, any given Sunday, you really never know. All right, we're going to go to Alex and then Deshaun. What's up, Alex?
Not too much, Jesse. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you been?
Been good. It's been a while since we've been able to chat together, and
Yeah.
so I just wanted to, just so everybody knows, I completely I messaged you to your to your inbox, about like how my perspective completely changed on Brock Purdy. Like I admit that I did 1,000% 180, and that my perspective since the Jags game, after thinking like, oh my God, this is who before the bye.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, you cut out there for a second. Go ahead again.
Oh, so I was going to say, he threw the 6 interceptions before the bye, and then he came out and went lights out, had a perfect passer rating and everything. I'm not panicking whatsoever about the Ravens game, only in as much that I don't put the loss on Brock Purdy 1%. And I'll tell you why. It was such a major discussion. I think it was amongst you, Grant, Ryan, all the guys that I call into, that the number one thing that the 49ers still never fixed was the right side of the offensive line. That eventually we were going to see the cost of the negligence from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And Colt McKivitz gave up. I saw somebody saying it was 7 pressures. I saw, Dave Lombardi said it was 9 pressures and 3 sacks that he gave up. And when I don't know of, and this is why I'm so tired of like the whole system quarterback thing. Like and people saying that like Brock Purdy's not elevating this offense or that he's a game manager. Well, that's just a bunch of BS. I don't know many quarterbacks in the NFL, even the ones that we call elite, that would perform as well as Brock Purdy is behind the 24th ranked offensive line in the entire league. That's including Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, et cetera, et cetera. The amount of criticism that Brock Purdy's taken after yesterday, I've never seen Joe Burrow take that kind of criticism. I don't see people falling on the sword for Trevor Lawrence no matter what. Well, a couple things about Brock Purdy. First off, he still has less interceptions after throwing 4 yesterday in one game. He still has less interceptions on the year than Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, and I forget who else that's considered elite. I think he had as many interceptions as Justin Herbert. At this point in the season, and Justin Herbert hasn't played for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So this whole thing about this whole major overreaction, I really put it on because I really only blame really one interception on Brock from yesterday, and it was the first interception. It was just a bad throw. It was a half a second late, and it was just a bad decision. The other ones, I don't want to take away from the fact that the Ravens are a great defense because your son will be pissed off at me. You're so get mad if I don't give the Ravens the credit for being the number 1 defense in the league. But just so that everybody understands a couple of things, Tom Brady in his career had 9 games with more than 2 interceptions. In fact, Tom Brady had 6 games with 4 interceptions. He had 3 games with 3 interceptions. So, and those the 4 games or the 6 games that came where he threw 4 interceptions came between 2001 and 2007. So this whole I just really want to throw these kinds of things out because at this point, Brock Purdy he's gonna break Jeff Garcia's franchise record. He already broke Steve Young's completion record. He already matched the NFL record for the Joe Montana set with the amount of single games in a row with a 70% completion percentage. He's already doing things that we would consider that if he was a top 5 pick in the draft, we wouldn't be having these conversations. If Trey Lance was doing and putting up numbers that Brock Purdy's doing, we'd be telling the 49ers to sign him, to re-sign him before the end of the season. So, and that's all I ever wanted as a fan. I wanted that guy. And I think at this point, Brock Purdy is that guy. So I don't know. I'm just seeing like a lot of people running laps, people criticizing, putting him down. But I will say this. If the 49ers lose the Super Bowl, I don't believe that it will be because of Brock Purdy. I believe that it'll be because of the trenches, because the AFC has crazy defensive lines that we just don't see in the NFC. The Bills have a crazy defensive line. We just ran into the Ravens. I mean, I don't think we'll have to face. I don't think the Browns will make it to the Super Bowl. The Dolphins maybe, but the Dolphins don't scare me just like what you're describing. Kyle Shanahan just has his protege's numbers when it comes to playing them. But those are just a few things that I would want people to keep in perspective when it comes to, if this was a top 5 or a top 3 pick that is having this kind of season that Brock Purdy is having, we wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't have fans that are running laps about a bad game, that are saying, I told you so, or, he's a game manager, or this loss is on Brock. And, and I got to admit that I would have been guilty of that too. I did that same stuff. But at this point, it's just like, it just became so illuminating. And another thing that people got to keep in mind, Brock Purdy has already done something Patrick Mahomes has never done. Brock Purdy has a game with a perfect passer rating. Patrick Mahomes has never had a game with a perfect passer rating in his entire career. On top of that, too, he hasn't matched those same records that Brock Purdy has already matched. So, and I know that Waruna mentioned the Super Bowl where Patrick Mahomes didn't have his offensive line. In that game, Patrick Mahomes literally ran backwards further than he passed the ball in the entire game because he didn't have an offensive line. So before anybody discredits Brock, you got to remember there aren't many quarterbacks that would be able to put up the numbers he's putting up if they had a bottom 10 offensive line like he does. So I'm just gonna, that's all that I'm gonna say about the subject. And I just wanted to call in and put that on the record because all day I've just been getting pissed off about it. So I had to share it. But I'm so glad your son's team won. I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. Merry Christmas to your son. I bet he's pumped. Has he been talking crap to you all day, or?
No, he's been pretty humble about it. He really expected the Niners to win. I think he's just happy that the Ravens got out of there with the win. So,
yeah, no, it's I'm glad that game. I heard you saying earlier that it took a lot of pain, or it took you a lot not to show the pain that in his excitement. So that's a good dad for you.
I was happy for him. Okay, good call, Alex. We'll talk later, man. All right.
Yeah, you too. Have a great happy holidays, Jesse. Have a great night.
You too, man. You too. Oh man, Alex. I like a lot of what he said, but I disagree with a lot of what he said. I'm not going to hit on every point. I got to give him his time, so I was respectful of that. But I feel like sometimes we go to extremes to defend Brock. I agree. If you have a horrible offensive line, it is tough to get things done. I respect what Brock's doing behind this offensive line. But when Patrick Mahomes did what he did in the Super Bowl, I could be mistaken. It was at least 4, but I thought all 5 starting offensive linemen were out. It wasn't what the 49ers are dealing with, where it's like, oh, you have the best left tackle in the game, serviceable left guard, a decent center, and then a horrible right side. It was backup offensive linemen in a Super Bowl with 2 weeks of preparation against a team that you had to put up points because you're going against the greatest quarterback of all time. So I just feel like sometimes we try to like cherry pick and look for the extreme to make a point. Okay. I mean, maybe, but you know, I don't know. I'm with it. I'm not here trying to kill Purdy after a 4 interception game. I feel like I've been pretty balanced on it. I don't think that I've gone too far one way or the other, but I think cherry picking stuff like that is it can be dangerous. Frank says, Jesse, you're the man. Thanks for everything. Go 49ers. I appreciate you, Frank. Keith says Dolphins play the Ravens this week, so we'll see. Yeah, maybe. I mean, if Kyle Hamilton's out, that's going to be a big difference, especially going against a team like the Dolphins that can put up a ton of points. But I do expect that and the Ravens have a short week too. We'll see. I could see the Dolphins potentially getting that one done, but maybe the Ravens will win again. Dazza says, can we stop putting Mahomes and Montana in the same sentence as Brock Purdy? Let him achieve what they have first before comparing them. I agree. I think it's dangerous to do. And here's what I'll say. And I know Alex's heart. I know this is not where he's going. And Deshaun, I'll get to you in a second, man. You've been very, very patient. I appreciate you. But when we go this far to defend Brock, I know that we're trying to like sway it and balance things out, but what ends up happening is what people like Dazza notice and what they hear is you just put Brock in the sentence with all-time greats. So now when the conversation comes up and Brock doesn't play well, you've got the other side that is like, well, hold on. Just a week ago, we were talking about him in sentences with we had people calling him Drew Brees with Lamar 10-yard bursts a week ago. All right. This is where we were at a week ago. So when you think you're doing a good thing by defending Brock and saying things like that, it's like, no, you're actually hurting his case, because when he doesn't play well, you have people waiting to be like, hey, that Drew Brees stuff you were saying a week ago, how's that working out for you? So I don't know. Ismail says, how much can the Niners learn from this game should they meet in the Super Bowl? A ton. And the whole thing about Lamar Jackson being now 20-1 against the NFC is a real thing. But the reason it's a real thing is because those teams play them once a year. You get a second chance at Lamar, and I think it makes things easier. All right, let me get to Deshaun. It's been very, very patient. Deshaun, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
What's up, Jesse? Man, first of all, I want to commend you because I know the guy before you were just being so respectable when he was saying some stuff extremely annoying, man. I was just like, what? But respectfully, I love the guy's homerness. I gotta commend him on that. Now I had to tune in to say what's up with you, man, because I ain't saw you in a while. I just
It's
wanted to
been a
say what's
minute,
up.
man. It's been a minute.
It's been a
And I do
minute.
want to
It's been a
say,
minute.
I really like Alex, and that's why I wasn't going to go in on him. I like to keep it respectful. I like to, and this is the rule of the channel, attack the take, not the person. So I
Right.
wanted to let him get his take off, and then I'll attack the take a little bit. But
I
I'm
love
with
his homerness. I really appreciate it.
you.
But I
For
came.
sure.
This is the blame game, so I guess I want to assign proper blame because
Okay.
what you said was so true in our assessments. It's we're either over crediting him or we're under crediting the guy. There's
Mm-hmm.
no in between.
Yeah.
When I come in here, I'm gonna set blame. I'm gonna give blame first of all to the media for overhyping Brock. I'm gonna get, I'm gonna get, I'm gonna give a blame to us as fans for over thinking the guy is something that he's not. We're not giving him a chance to develop because we're saying he's Patrick Mahomes, he's Joe Montana, he's this, he's that. Now, and our reality is for our team the real reason, if we got to put it in his hands, it is a failure on our part to have to put it in Brock's hands.
I
That's
agree.
not saying anything and saying that he's a game manager. We need to stop looking at it as that's a shot. It's not. It's okay for him to be a game manager because you know what? That's what this team needs. He's not the star.
Especially in year
It's
two,
okay.
Deshaun, especially in year two. It doesn't mean he always has to be that, but in year
Right.
two, because what happened last night, Deshaun, is the exact opposite of a game manager. Like if Brock had played within himself last night and been a game manager that we think is so offensive, bro, we would have won the game. We would have won the
Yeah,
game going away,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah, if you notice, we said this in before the game, before the season. Right now, he doesn't have franchise attributes, but when you watching this whole season, every time he started to feel himself, he tried to be Brett Favre. That's when when the interceptions and stuff come. I like Brock Purdy playing under control, being that game manager, letting the stars go and be great. And to sit here all the time, what we want to do is start to attack these other quarterbacks and stuff like that. But I'll be willing to, for anybody who want to go look at the stats, we don't compare these quarterbacks are not compared to apples. Brock Purdy, for all his career, for most of his career, if you look at it, he has been playing with all the weapons around him. When the weapons wasn't near, his production went down. If you really want to go look at the only player that we can really, as a quarterback, can really compare him to is when Jimmy Garoppolo was in with those 5 games with Christian McCaffrey and everything. If you go look at his numbers, they were leading the league. Efficiency, yards per play, the same thing that Brock Purdy is leading the league in. Now, what that can be said, a second year player can come in and still, give us the best chance to win as if it was Jimmy. But one thing I say that's different from Jimmy and Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, for all the shots that we throw at him, Jimmy Garoppolo has led game winning drives. Jimmy Garoppolo, for all the flack that we give him, he has led game winning drives. And right now, that's not what I don't see. I don't see I haven't seen Brock Purdy do that. Now, you have been one of the biggest Brock Purdy analysts where you talk about his blunders in college. Now you know how he went from a second or third pick to the last pick of the draft was decision making. We have got to we how we got to the point where we accepted Jimmy Garoppolo going to make some mistakes when the ball is in hand. We got to know that that's going to be a component with Brock. It's okay. It's okay. Let's not put him in that position. It's a failure if the defense don't come up and play their game. I've always, for me, even talking with my other friends, I called the games that we were going to lose. Why? Because it's either going to be elite quarterback and a good defense, and it's not going to allow Brock to sit back and be the game manager. If Brock was going to try to press this game, I really felt like, this is just me. I really felt like Kyle Shanahan came in trying to make him the MVP, trying to win him the MVP this game. And what he found out was, nah, Lamar Jackson is another animal. He's the MVP. Instead of really featuring our guy, Christian McCaffrey, he went and tried to make the quarterback the MVP. And I really feel like that really what messed us up. We got to stay within ourselves. We know what our game plan is. Let's stop this. Let's play, but let's get back to team ball. Let's get back to that. Let's forget the comparison to Joe Montana and all this. No, 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 no. That's not what we do. That's not what this team's about. Get back to what we do.
Yeah, and not yet, not yet. That's the biggest thing. It's not that it can't ever get to that point. It's not that Brock can't earn that. It's just why? Why do we have to do it now after a season and a half or, just over a season? Like why do we have to rush the process? And I think one thing that I talked about going into the season, Deshaun, is that if the 49ers are going to win a Super Bowl, they cannot expect that Brock Purdy is going to win it for them. Okay? They have to play their game. They have to understand that Brock is a piece, and as long as is better, because they don't need a lot. They just need slightly better than Jimmy in year 2. And saying in year 2 that he can do that and has been phenomenal this year, it's very impressive, but you don't have to get outside of your wheelhouse, to your point. Just play within the means of the offense, go get the job done. And when we need a game winning drive, of course, we want to see you put that together. But we don't want games to rely on Brock Purdy. That is not the way this team is built. This team is built around superstar players and Brock playing within himself. The moment they get out of their wheelhouse, that's when things get crazy. And I agree with you. And that is not necessarily on Brock, right? Like that is on Kyle and that is on this team. And I think if you asked Kyle honestly, hey, do you want to rely on this defense in this run game or do you want to rely on Brock? He would say the defense in the run game. So why then do you go put everything on Brock in big moments like this and expect that it's going to
His
turn out
fault.
fantastic? He's in year 2. He's in year 2.
It's his fault. When I look at it, we are in a landscape of, when we look at the narratives that, the quarterback is the most important position. So what you have now is people pushing that narrative so much that even if you can look at Jimmy Garoppolo, you can look at any quarterback we get, if they win, even if they're not contributing as much to the win, it becomes more about the quarterback than is about the other players. And
Mm-hmm.
because we don't look at the team, we look at the narratives that's been pushed, the stories and stuff like that. We can go and say, hey, this is a offensive lead, it's a quarterback lead. But if you sit back and you look at our team is not built like that. So instead of giving credit to the way our team is built, like we can always say, hey, the best quarterback always win. Well, that's not always the case. We can go ask the Ravens, we can go ask Seattle. You know what I'm saying? We can have those teams where the defense is the lead and they win a championship. It's okay. It doesn't have to be about the quarterback. The objective of the game is to win the Super Bowl. So let's do
Mm-hmm.
what you do. Don't try to don't try to don't try to feed into the narrative because we have a history of great quarterbacks doesn't mean that we have a great quarterback now, and you don't have to try to make him at this point be that. This is why you
Yeah.
got all these veterans around.
Yeah, and
So I'm
he's making less than $1 million, right? And so
right,
eventually you're going to have to decide if you want to pay him, and when you do that, then the expectation is he is that guy. He has to be that guy if
yeah,
you're going to give him that money. But right now, we have this year and next year for him that he doesn't have to be that guy. He can
right,
grow into that. Like don't
right.
force it. Don't force it.
I I just felt this whole time I feel like I've been force fed. He's elite, force fed this, force fed that, and I'm like, look, oh, he's better. I get it. He's doing a great job. And I commend him for being a 7th round pick. But I'm not gonna sit here and act as if he's Joe Montana. He doesn't have to be that. Let's let him be Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I feel it.
Let him manage the game. Let him humble himself because if he hears all this stuff, he gets to feeling himself MVP. And you watch this tape. You watch some of those ridiculous interceptions when he was feeling himself. Let's not get to that. Let's just be humble, Brock Purdy, and manage the game, and let's go out here and get this. But as long as we sit here, we thinking we're pushing this narrative. It's like nah, we are feeding into this mess. We don't have to come in here and fool ourselves into believing that he's something he's not right now. Let the kid develop.
I
Right now,
feel
let's
it.
just go.
Great call,
So
man. Great take. Great call. Way to be level headed about it. Deshaun, thank you so much, man. Great way to end the show. Appreciate you for hanging tight the way you did. Thank you.
peace and blessings, brother. I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. You too, man. You too. Great call. Great perspective. Great call. Coco Puff says the good news is the Niners don't have to pay Brock Purdy 40 or 50 million. Yeah, I mean, I think you're making a joke about the way that it went down and not getting the MVP or whatever, presumably. But they are going to have to make that decision eventually. But either way, it doesn't have to happen after this season. So that's where we're at, and I think that's totally fine. That's a good spot to be. Daz, it says the most frustrating thing about last night was despite the turnovers, penalties, flags, and injuries, we still had a chance in the game. You know, it's almost better, Daza, I feel like as a fan sometimes where you get blown out and you don't have a chance. It's when you have that chance and you don't cash in, you feel like your heart just got ripped out. It's like, can we just get blown out and feel like we didn't have a chance? Because then you start to you went a quarter and a half thinking this game's over, And then all of a sudden at the end, you're going, hold on a second, we got a chance. And you get excited again. You get back into it, only to have your heart ripped out and you didn't have a chance the whole time. So I feel it, man. I definitely feel it. Listen, thank you guys so much for calling in. Thank you guys so much for carrying the show, making sure that we had a good one. Appreciate everybody that called in. Appreciate everybody in the chat. I'll be on tomorrow night with Grant on his channel at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then right after that, right here behind enemy lines with a Commanders content creator. Make sure you tap into that. And we'll talk soon. Love y'all. Peace.